o'clock here on August 7th, 2025. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Could I get roll call, please?
Vicki Andrews.
Here.
Harry Bumgardner.
Here.
Tyson Brooks.
Here.
Rick Elwell.
Here.
Jared Hahn.
Here.
Bill Horan.
Here.
Jeff Lance.
Present. Had to be the
There's
one.
always one.
Tim Rohr.
Here.
John Schumacher.
Here.
Melissa Woodworth. Here.
Okay, in your packets that is substantially the size of the Torah, we have the old minutes inside, so if you can dig those out and take a peek at them, if you notice any corrections, now would be the time to bring it to our attention. Otherwise, if you see none, I'd be willing to entertain a motion to approve.
I would make a motion to approve as submitted.
We have a motion to approve as submitted by Tim. Do we have a second? Second by Jared. Any further discussion? All in favor, right hand. Opposed, same sign. Okay, and we do have some old items. We have one old item this evening. It's A2507-10. Mike, before I continue that, do you have anything you want to add to that before I introduce it fully?
Go ahead and introduce it.
Okay. So we have A250710, Lancaster Township, southwest quarter of 2727 North 12 East, Black Gold Ventures, Indiana LLC, National ENR Inc. request.
No, you're reading it from.
Oh, forgive me, folks. It's that's happened a time or two. Let me try that one more time. A250608, Jefferson Township, northeast quarter of 2128 North 12 East, the Hillcrest Development Corporation requests approval for a proposed gas station and convenience store. Property is located at the northwest corner of State Road 1 and Wood Creek Drive in Ossian. It's currently zoned B3. And now, Mr. Lotzenheiser, give us an update on that one.
Okay, so over the last couple of days here, we've been in email conversation with the development team for the Hillcrest Development Corporation / Casey's project. In regards to that, they have asked for the meeting to be continued to the October 2nd Area Plan Commission meeting for the purposes of working through their NDOT traffic study and permitting process.
Do we normally go 3 months?
Maybe
2 months? Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine then. Because I thought we didn't continue them more than a certain
We're not allowed
amount.
to continue more than 3 times.
3 times, thank you for the clarification. Okay. The amount, not the time. Makes sense.
So that is what their request is to the board, is to have a motion to continue till October 2nd.
I see that to be completely reasonable.
I would move to continue the Casey's petition until the regular scheduled October meeting.
October the 2nd.
October 2nd.
Yep. We have a motion to continue October 2nd. We have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second on board. Any further discussion, board members? All in favor, right hand. Opposed, same sign. Any other old items that we need to be aware of?
I do not have any.
Okay. Board members, in your packet, we have several new items this evening. First new item is A250813 Jefferson Township. It's the southeast quarter of 9-28 North 12 East. Mike and Karen Todd request approval for rezoning to S1. The property is located at 2900 East, 1050 North, Ossian, Indiana, 46777. It's currently zoned R1. Do we have a representative for that here this evening? Why don't you come on up and state your name and tell us a little bit about what you want to do?
Can you make sure the button is up on the microphone, please?
It's up.
It's up? Yeah, okay. Perfect.
I'm Mike, and this is my wife Karen Todd, and we are the ones that live there. And about a year ago, we came in for a variance to add on to a pole barn, and shortly after that, it was suggested to me that it would be beneficial to, because of the 7 acres that we have there, would be beneficial to switch to an S1 instead of the R1. And that way, if we would want to add on another pole barn or whatever, we wouldn't have to go through the variance process and so forth, and the more I thought about it, I thought long-term that it would be beneficial for us to do so.
So what we're looking at this evening is going from an R1 to
Yep.
S1.
Yep, from single-family residential R1 to suburban residential S1.
Give us a moment, we're digging. Where's the?
Looking at the zoning map, everything north of 1050 is currently zoned S1.
The zone in the S. What's allowable?
What page? What page?
I'm just on the chat.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cheating.
This way? Oh, I see. Right, all right, thank you. Got it.
So currently, everything up to 1100 north is zoned, from 1050 to 1100 is already zoned S1, both sides of State Road 1. Clear to the railroad track on the west side, and
Yes.
So it would match existing uses already in the area?
match, yeah.
Okay.
Looks like almost a mile to the east is zoned that way as well.
A lot to digest here. Give us a moment. So, Mike, I have a question. If this would have been S1 before, the year ago when we issued this before, if it would have been S1, would we had to have done anything at that point for
No.
that request?
The variance request was to go over the
Right.
residential scale accessory building square footage.
But if it would have already been an
And
S1,
it would have.
they would have not had to do that?
Correct, it would have been allowed to use a
Makes sense to me.
traditional
Yeah.
sizing.
I mean, really, S1 is just less dense, or theoretically less
Correct,
dense
larger.
than what an R1
Yeah.
zone would be.
Right,
Larger lot,
Larger
yeah.
buildings.
right. And then you, Mike, you said that your intention was maybe to put up another barn at some point?
There's nothing in the works at this point in time, but when it was explained to me that the benefits being an S1 versus the R1, I thought, the more I thought about it, I thought it made sense.
Okay.
And obviously, we got more growth coming north of town and so forth. And so the more I thought about it, I thought, you know, why not? Let's give it a thought and see what happens. You know.
Yeah, I understand. Board members, do you have any further questions on this ordinance, on this petition?
So what is that section right there? Okay.
Okay, hearing no more questions from the board, why don't you guys go ahead and have a seat, and we'll get a public comment going, and we might have to call you back up to answer a few things.
GIS, it has the GIS map has the zoning overlays.
Just some housekeeping things, ladies and gentlemen. When we do public comment, what we will do in the public comment is we won't answer your questions instantly. We'll write them down. We may have to call up the petitioner back up, and then we will present those questions that you've asked But the time for the public comment will happen, and then when I officially, as president, shut down that public time, then your chance is then gone. So if you have something, make sure that you present it and bring it during the public time, because once that time is over, we're not opening that back up for a second time. Does that make sense? It's just kind of rules and procedures of boards and committees. So at this point, if anybody from the public would like to come and comment on this, we would ask that you would come up, present your name, and tell us what you want to know. I hear crickets, Mr. Lotzenheiser. Okay, board members, there is no public comment here, and you have the information in front of you. So we are, just as a reminder here, we are doing a do pass, a do not pass, or a no recommendation to the Wells County Commissioners on this one for the rezoning.
I would make a motion we approve as submitted.
Okay, we have a
Do pass recommendation.
Or do pass.
We have a motion from Tim for a do pass recommendation. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion on this? All in favor, right hand? Opposed, same side. Do they need to know anything else at this point?
Okay, so we will let you know the date that it'll go in front of the county commissioners. It'll be at their next available meeting, so we'll let you know when that's going to be. Otherwise, we'll see after that and go from there. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Okay, our next item on the agenda this evening is A250814, Harrison Township, the northeast quarter of 526 North 12 East. The Wilson Park Development Partnership and Futures LLC, Gorman and Company LLC request approval for a proposed 11-building, 40-unit townhouse project. The property is located at the end of both Central Street and West South Street in Bluffton, Indiana, 46714, and is currently zoned R3. Do we have a representative here for that? Yep. Why don't you come on up, state your name, and tell us about the project, please.
Hi, my name is Trent Claybaugh. I'm the Indiana Market President with Gorman and Company. A little bit about the project. It is, as stated, a 40-unit townhome development off of West Central Avenue in the southwestern quadrant of the city of Bluffton. 25% of the units are one-bedrooms, 25% of the units are two-bedrooms, and 50% of the units are three-bedroom townhomes. There are 81 parking stalls for the 40 units. In addition to the 40 townhome units that are arranged in 4-unit buildings, there will be a small community clubhouse as well with kind of a patio area, grills, etc. We've been working on this project for over the last year. We managed to, last summer, kind of work it through the City of Bluffton's City Council and to gain support from the community, put it in for different financing sources, and now we're getting to the point where it's fully designed and we're ready to close towards the end of this year. So this is kind of the last step. And I believe in Mike's sort of opinion on this, which I've read, that the one major thing that came up during the Plat Committee meeting was the unfinished stretch of road from Merchant Street, all the way to our site on West Central Avenue. And we have since had a meeting with the city, and, we are committed to bringing that up to city standards. But I think that was the only kind of unsettled housekeeping issue from our initial submittal.
What are those two barn-like structures that are to the west of the property where the road would continue in? Right here.
Those are duplexes.
Okay. Okay. Duplexes.
Yeah. They're very basic rectangular duplexes.
Trent, this is a really random question.
Sure.
However, you seem familiar. Were you presenting before us before at
Yeah, I
another
was here last month.
another location, or?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
Wearing glasses today, but otherwise the same.
See, I thought you were in Superman mode last time, then you're wearing the Clark Kent glasses now. On page 6 of 93, the property's got a weird little outline that butts up against that cul-de-sac,
Yes, so there's two parcels.
okay?
One is a lot in the Wilson Park subdivision, and the other is the remaining undeveloped ground.
That's like
To the west.
upside down Indiana,
Correct.
yeah.
Yep.
We incorporated that so that we'd have two accesses to
Oh,
the
that's,
site.
that was my question, what would be the
Exactly, so the-
plan for that parcel?
Well, so it's the northern access to the
Right.
site, so technically there are two accesses to the site that's to comply, have a fire truck come
Absolutely.
through, or, garbage collection trucks, things like that.
Okay, good, I was curious about that part. So they met that already. Jared, do you have anything from Platt?
So on the, there's an open ditch that's kind of the northern property line.
See it?
They did apply to the Wells County Drainage Board, received approval to, part of their detention pond will encroach into the right-of-way for that. They are doing a detention pond, and then as part of the project, some of that open ditch will be filled in. But, they will be responsible for the project and any cost associated, any permitting, anything, if they choose to do that. There was some concern where that street, the northern street, that there would be an open ditch very close to where the curve was. There
Yep.
was, guardrail, something like that. It was decided that if they encapsulate the ditch, then if somebody would run off the curve, whatever, they're not going to run off in a ditch. So they're working through that process.
Okay.
So already received approval from the Drainage Board, just up to them to do the project.
Anything from Bluffton?
Yeah, we listened to the presentation, discussed it, and supported it.
Okay.
Department heads have signed off on the plan.
Yes, there is currently a drainage tile that drains part of the existing Wilson Park subdivision that goes through where they're going to develop. They're going to reroute that and I believe enlarge considerably. It's about doubling the size of it just for capacity. So they're going to reroute it as part of their development.
I missed it, Trent, I'm sorry, what was the parking capacity?
81 to 40, so there's just over, I suppose, 2 spots per unit.
Got it, thank you. Board members, any further questions for Trent?
There was a letter in the packet.
Yes.
It's been emailed, and I guess as I'm looking at adjacent lots to that property, most of them are either owned by Wilson Park or Wilson Park and are rental units, or it appears might be owned by another LLC or something, rental unit. There might be a couple parcels that front on Merchant Street that are not. There is one owner at the end of that cul-de-sac. They had some concern about, lights and that sort of thing, whether a fence could be erected, that sort of thing. I guess, do we broach that subject?
Yeah, so there was this item that was emailed out by Karen Porman and representative of the Craner family. They mentioned something in regards to a fence along the north boundary of the driveway.
Sure.
To be clear, because of zoning classifications, it's not something that the zoning ordinance would require you to do, but it was something that they had brought up as a question if something like that could be looked into.
Got it, sure, we'll definitely look into it. And I need to take a look at our photometric plan to see kind of what the light exposure would be up there as well, because I'm not aware that we will have any sort of major, I guess, lighting.
I think they
that's
were
on.
talking more about like vehicle lights.
Oh, sure, got it. Yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely look into that, and you can pass our contact information along to them, and they can reach out to me directly.
Where would the fence be?
The north side of this northern driveway.
And, I mean, you'd have to be cautious on the fence that you don't get it out too far, that then it blocks sight
Yeah.
distances and all that.
Yeah.
It might be a
Up to the
fence
house.
where the house is, just so that somebody can't see driving by, but
Sure.
for the most part,
On
say
that,
it's
that
not-
weird
it's not a
little piece.
requirement because of
Yeah, right.
the like zoning type.
Makes sense.
Oh, we want to be a good neighbor. So.
Sure.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I can understand somebody that bought a house on that cul-de-sac, they would assume that that's going to stay on a cul-de-sac. So it is a slight change
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
from what was probably expected, so.
For sure. Yeah, it sounds good. Anything you can do to connect us so we can chat about that and see what we can do.
Do we need to worry about that as a
No.
condition? Okay,
That's not something that we can require based on ordinance.
okay, so that's not in our field house anyway, so. Okay. Any other questions for Trent at this point, board members? And if you feel I'm rushing you, board members, please tell me to give you a moment, and I'll be more than happy to do so. Okay, Trent, why don't you go ahead and have a seat, and we'll do a public comment here and see if we have some questions for you.
Sounds great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Trent. At this time, if anybody from the public would like to comment on this petition, now would be your time. Come on up and state your name and let us know what you'd like. Yeah, right up here at the front. Yeah, we record everything, so, yeah. Yes, thank you so much.
That's all right. Yeah, if you can pull the microphone, yeah. Yep.
It's musical chairs night, Melissa.
Yeah. I was just,
Go ahead and state your name for us.
Melissa Stesh.
Okay, Melissa, thank
I
you.
live here in town. I have a home, and I'm getting older, and I want to sell it and get an apartment. But are these are for the seniors, or are these for everybody?
So we're going to talk.
Oh, then I'm ahead of myself.
We'll write down the question,
and then
we'll call him back up and he can answer it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to know if they were for seniors.
Who's it for?
Yeah, and if it goes by the senior's income, because I'm limited. And I have to work part-time job just to make ends meet, but, yeah, I just wondered if it was by income and if it's for seniors, and about what time these was going to be built.
Time
You know, I'd
frame.
like to sell my home.
Okay, Melissa, thank you. Any other public comment? Come on up.
Dennis Gerwig. I own the property right there on the end, Merchant Street and South. Lots of cars fly up and down the road. Kids are playing in the roads. We're going to bring in a lot more traffic. We're going to see kids getting hit. I mean, they just run out there. The wreck screener, their house, that road is going to be like on their property line. And I think that was their biggest concern is cars are going to fly in and out of there, lose control. The wooden fence isn't going to stop a car. I don't mind people renting. There's a lot of good people behind us right now that are renting. But, I mean, some of the trash they leave behind, I don't want to be like Fort Wayne where parking lots are trashed and people don't care about their apartments and they trash the apartments. And, I mean, it's just trickle-down effect on everything in that neighborhood. and I'm sure there's a few more things, but I'm just, I know the city's going to do away with some railroad crossings. That's going to jeopardize some more traffic going over the railroad tracks in the future. I know Hoosier Highway, they took out 2 or 3, and I heard they're taking out 2 or 3 more. Another thing would be the fire departments, 200 south, 200 north. That's going to take more time to get to the west side of the tracks. And there's just a whole lot of things just besides one little buildings going up into that location.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I'm sure I'd figure something out later, but just a lot of concerns. I didn't know about this until I seen the sign halfway in the yard. It wasn't quite visible, but, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next. Okay, Trent, why don't you come on up? We'll officially close the public hearing of it, and we'll ask you those 2 questions from Melissa. Wait, we have one more? Oh, come on up. Oh, yeah, you just come on up when the chair's open.
Yes, my name is Donna Smith. I live on Merchant Street. Actually, our property's here, trainers are here, and you want to put a drive right here. I think it's a stupid thing to do. It's going to cause more problems than it's worth. It's going to cause more increased traffic, where the duplexes that's already back there are causing issues. We have law enforcement back there all the time. When we moved in, the neighborhood was quiet and peaceful, so they started adding. We've had our vehicle hit twice. Reported by me, no one left, no info, hit and skips, last year. Parking the vehicle the same spot for over 30 years. I don't think our area is up for all this traffic. We've got to look at the sewage, the infrastructure. What kind of problems is this going to be? Is it going to be a good one or a bad one? Never heard of a good problem. So my concern is this location the only place in Bluffton that this place can be put? I'm all up for senior, low income, 100%. But I'm not willing to give an okay for something that might possibly ruin our neighborhood. I need to know a lot more about this before I'm on board with it. I mean, a lot more. We've already had people going in and from the duplexes, they come on our properties because they don't want to walk the street. To me, even at nighttime, you don't cross on somebody's property. You belong where you belong, not looking like you possibly might be doing something wrong. You can't call the law every time you see something. But if you see living there every day, day in and day out like we have, you would think that there's a lot more, well, I already know there's a lot more going on in them duplexes that ones want to admit because of the cop population back here all the time. And I'm not for that. I am totally against it. And if this can be done somewhere else in Bluffton, it would be greatly appreciated. Because I don't want my neighborhood ruined. Been there 32 years and I don't want to have to move. And I think that's it.
Thank
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Now's your chance. Well, if you want to talk, you got to come up and state your name. So if you want to say something, come.
People to move closer to the microphone, so it's hard to hear.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for that. Yep. Last call. All right, Trent, now's your time. Come on back up, bud. There were two specific questions. Do you want me to go back over those again and address them one by one with you?
Sure, or I think yeah, you can.
Yeah, so let's do the lesser of two, in my opinion, which would be, when do you think the construction would be complete?
The construction will begin, we're closing at the end of this year, and it'll probably begin at the beginning of 2026, and will be done 14 months later for senior. So we'd be leasing up probably March of '27 for senior, and then May of '27 for family or the townhomes.
27. Okay.
Yeah, because the townhomes will take 2 months longer than
Okay.
the senior development, so.
Got it, Melissa? Okay, you said, and we're going to get to that question next. So we're at May of 2027 at this point, okay? And then question number two would be as far as the income and that situation,
They're
you
both
could address that.
Yeah, they're both mixed income developments and will serve a variety of incomes, up to 80% of AMI, which
Okay.
is the area median income. And yeah, it'll be substantially cheaper than sort of comparable market rate development.
And then will there be like, are you all in charge of like the approval process when an application comes in?
We are, yeah, so we're managing both of the properties.
So then an individual would just come to you. and
Exactly.
Apply for that, you would have a discussion, you'd make a decision based on that.
Yeah, correct. So we have an application process on our website, or, with the on-site manager, we'll probably be there maybe a couple of months before we open. Once the ground floor of seniors finished or the clubhouse portion of families finished, it'll be open to start seeing people in person.
Do you have a minimum age requirement?
That's a good question. I don't know if I...
It is a good question.
Oh, you mean like for senior? Is
Yeah,
there?
like
Oh, yeah, it's 55 plus for senior.
55 plus.
Yeah, and there is no age restriction on family.
Okay.
And with that being said, I think with senior, technically, generally speaking, I think we try and hold like 55 plus pretty firm, but technically the statute allows to have 20% of the units for under that age. So if there are people that are getting close, it's also kind of an opportunity there.
Board members, while Trent's here, do you have any other questions for him?
Is there any option to buy direct or maintenance?
Yes, so in Bluffton family, and we'll be coming back once we actually file or we plat the site. We want to get the primary approval done now, and then we'll submit. We're still going through that process with our civil engineer to get the site fully platted. But yeah, after the 15-year sort of period or financing period, we'll be selling them to the tenants or other qualified buyers.
So if somebody wanted to buy, once that happens, they want to buy it, they're going to have some vested ownership interest. Or
Exactly.
could have vested ownership interest in
Yeah.
what they look like and how they take care of them.
Absolutely.
They might be buying them at the end.
Yeah, and to be honest, we've had a lot of success doing this, and that's why we kind of, when we do family projects, sort of try and opt into this eventual ownership model, because we have found that people take a lot more pride of ownership where they're living and take much better care of it.
Go ahead.
Yes.
So the gentleman in the green shirt mentioned something that made me think. He was talking about speed coming in and out of the neighborhood.
That would be Dennis.
Okay, apologize.
No, it's fine, I was just helping out.
So the northern stretch has that longer access road that curves around. Is there a plan, or is it worth considering a plan about putting in some sort of speed bump or anything like that coming off South Street to dissuade people from peeling in or out of the complex?
That's a great suggestion. We could definitely incorporate something like that. I know it's probably not required, but if we think that that's something that would be a good addition, it's something we can absolutely do.
Also, they mentioned that the ingress there for that property would be exactly right up against the property line, and there's room for a curve, is your plan to put it right next to the property line, or would you curve it to slow traffic through that area?
I believe that it's, I think it's curved as much as it kind of can to allow the proper radius for large enough trucks going through, which is why I think it got pushed to that.
To that property line?
To that extent, yes.
Makes sense.
But it's not right up against the property line. There's a gap of some measurement.
Yep, it just gets a little, yeah.
I see it.
But we did take it, again, we wanted it to, be as far away as it could from the property line, but that was like the minimum radius that our civil engineer determined in conjunction with city engineers that we could make that work. But I think the speed bumps are a great idea.
I believe you would even have the option of putting a stop sign before you would get out to the street.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Private part.
So that would be private.
It would be a
Private street.
private traffic control measure.
Sure.
They
Yeah.
could do that without any ordinance or anything.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, all of our suggestions will not be part of our,
No, but that is something that could be looked at for traffic control
proposals.
on the South Street exit specifically.
We definitely want to do everything we can to help control that, So that all makes sense.
So, speed bumps, fence, stop sign.
Yep.
Yep.
But that wouldn't be on their property.
I mean, looking at the design, where most of the buildings are, it appears that most people would probably use Merchant Street because it's closer to them. I mean, you're probably going to have some that would go.
Central,
Central,
yes,
not Merchant.
yes, yep,
Yeah.
Goes on to Merchant Street, sorry.
yeah.
I mean, it would be closer for most people that would be living
Yeah,
there to go to that street.
One quick question, and again, it seems like the biggest point of contention is that second access, and generally speaking, if it's only required for fire access, but people don't generally want it being something that's used constantly, could we gate it? And then if there is an emergency or a truck needs to come through, I guess maybe for garbage, but I don't know how that would work. I don't know if they're specifically going to be using that, but that's also something, again, we could internally sort of talk about and consider privately, but I'm not sure if that...
I think that, ordinance compliance would be, it's open to traffic.
Okay,
I think
okay, got it.
The potential of using measures to slow traffic down on that side.
It's probably the best way to go.
Would
Got
be
it.
the best way to look at it.
Sure.
One restriction, and I know we've done this in a few other developments, is that during construction, that street would not be used for construction traffic.
Yeah.
I think we do have the ability to,
Yep.
Yes, we do have the ability to talk about heavy haul,
that you would use Central Street
yes.
as your main entrance for construction.
And I believe we kind of talked about that at Plat Committee because you were going to come in after construction to do the improvements on Central.
Yes. Well, I think we'll do them in conjunction, right?
Right.
The timing will be similar, yes, yeah.
What would the condition, Jared, look like if you were going to add that condition to?
Just the construction traffic until the end of their
Okay.
development is completed would use Merchant Street.
Central.
Central Street,
Central Ave.
rather than the secondary access on South Street to get out.
Yeah.
Somebody did ask a question, I guess this might be more of a question for Rick. There was a question about sewer, water, other infrastructure. The city department heads have signed off saying the
They have.
capacity's there. so-
Capacity is there,
Okay.
the infrastructure, it checks the boxes.
Okay.
Any further questions for Trent, board members? Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we do a motion, do we have any further discussion about any situation? Because I have something that came to my mind. there's a lot of new board members here, but we had kind of the same situation with Premier Flats. Some of you are here to remember that. And as best as I'm aware, after the completion of that situation, which is a much larger complex, I don't believe that we've had any issues, traffic concerns, nothing that has come up anywhere at all. And I'd like to, if any board member would know about anything on Premier Flats after we approve that, I'd like to know about it.
I mean, I think the big concern was that connecting road back into, the subdivision back there, and
And the speed bumps and the fence and the things that they're more than willing to comply for the best scenario in that situation.
in the case of Premier Flats, it's my understanding that back access does not get a lot of use. Gets some, but not a lot. I've only been down it once, and it just hasn't been an issue to my knowledge.
Yeah,
I think like that one, we restricted no construction traffic through
Yep,
that
we did.
subdivision.
yeah, we did the same situation, and it turned out great. As far as the crime situation, I'm not sure that seniors are involved in the crime bracket. Family. But the major complex would be senior, right?
No, that's the Dustman Road project.
Okay, never mind then.
Yes,
Nope, scratch that off the table then. There went my thoughts on that one.
It's tricking on the records.
What's that? No? All right.
Yeah. So this is the
Got it.
rent-to-own family.
Yep. Anything else, board members, before we have a motion? Okay. Willing to hear a motion?
I'll make a motion for a new house recommendation to approve.
Do you want to add the condition for the construction to be on Central Avenue only?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion for approval of the petition, and with the condition added of a construction traffic to be located on Central Avenue only throughout the build of the project. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor, right hand? Opposed, same sign.
So after today's meeting, there is a 30-day appeal period. Once that has been exhausted, then you would be clear to get permitting on the schedule we talked about, so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Trent.
And him this email, so he has their email.
Yes, that'd be fine. Yeah, that's the contact information for, yep.
Give me a moment to adjust my paperwork, board members. Okay, our third new item this evening is A250815 Harrison Township, the northwest quarter of 926 North 12 East. The City of Bluffton requests approval for the proposed Wells Community Pool Project. The property is located at 310 West Spring Street in Bluffton, Indiana, 46714. It is currently zoned R1. And I see some familiar faces out there, so why don't you come on up, state your name, and tell us what's going down.
Good evening, I'm Mark Reinhardt, Engineering Resources, 360 North Main Street, Sweet G's here in Bluffton.
And I'm Brandy Fichter with the Bluffton Parks Department.
And also just with us, just to mention, you got Carter Freet, also from ERI, and Connor Jackson with Jackson & Co. So,
Welcome. Well, tell us what's going on.
so if you haven't been reading the paper, it's actually super excited to be here tonight on behalf of this project. And I'm going to let Brandy maybe just share a little bit, big picture of what is planned, and then I might just touch on a couple of the minor details and go from there.
Thanks, Mark.
So just to let you know, we've got all kinds of features that we're putting in the pool. We're going to have a zero depth entry so that it's ADA accessible with ramps and handrails to make it easy to get into. We are expanding to an 8-lap lane. It's a heated pool so that we can accommodate the very large swim team that uses our facilities. We do have a deep end because that's what survey said that they wanted. So we've got a diving well and a climbing wall, so that's an added amenity. We've added a Ninja Warrior course, which isn't found anywhere else, so we're going to be one of the only locations to have that. We've got a speed slide and a serpentine slide. We've got a lazy river because that has been commented on more than one occasion that somebody wanted one, so there is. We've added pickleball courts because that is something that was brought up later that was an item in demand, and that was a good location for it and adds more of a year-round element to that. There is an ADA accessible playground, a pavilion that is outside that can be rented, concession stands that serve both inside and outside, so people playing pickleball can have their ice cream sandwiches without having to go into the pool. We've got restroom facilities that are family restrooms that are ADA compliant with changing tables for adults and things like that. And then we also have a community room that we're going to be able to use year-round. It's going to be heated so that we can have our extra programs in there and also rent for generating some revenue. There are some fun bolas for shade and then also private cabanas that people can rent. So there's a little bit of everything for everybody.
And then if you can see the plan, the location of the pool is right along Spring Street. The existing pool is going to be filled in, and the building back there will be used by the Parks Department for storage and maintenance. The parking lot that's out there today will continue to be utilized and also expanded. I think it's around 70 additional parking spaces will be added. Stormwater from the development will be collected and detained before being discharged to a public sewer, storm sewer. And then other than that, we're pulling water off the water mains nearby and we have a couple sanitary sewer taps. But I believe, again, all the infrastructure is available. So I think that covers most of it. Happy to answer any questions.
In your picture, it looks like the water surface area of the new pool will be much larger than the original surface area of the old pool. Do you know if it is bigger or?
Slightly bigger, I believe. It's
Okay.
not by a lot.
Must be the arrangement I'm looking at, yeah.
Yeah, it's zero depth, so like there's a lot of it that's shallow. before it
Gotcha.
gets to
Yeah.
bigger depth.
And Mike, were there any concerns?
Early on, there was discussion about where the stormwater would go on the original pool, and the backside goes through the 4-H park. Can you talk a little bit about what has been changed in the project?
Yeah, so there's a public storm sewer to the west, and we were able to get an easement from the property owner immediately adjacent to our property to take our stormwater. That pipe is much larger and deeper, and it provides a much better place to take the stormwater. So it's not, the water originally was going to go, through the 4-H park, as Michael mentioned. That pipe was smaller and not quite as deep, and so it's kind of limiting our stormwater ability. So thankfully, we were able to find this one nearby, and it looks like we got an easement so we can take it in that location.
Anything from Bluffton?
Just a couple accolades. Brandy, we've been working on this for a long time. You've been living and breathing this for 24/7, right? So great job. We're excited. The city's excited. It's a generational project. Kudos to Jackson and Company for the value engineering that we were able to get done in this project, and I think it's going to be a win-win for the community.
Nice. Thank you. Jared, anything on your end?
Nope, cover the range.
Love it. That's a good idea. Board members, any other questions for Mark or Randy? Bill?
Well, this might be premature, I was just going to ask, what hours are those refreshments going to be available? Because by my estimation, about 675 feet from my office door for the refreshments. I just wonder what hours they're going to operate.
You want them to put a gate in the fence? So
Yeah.
they can go straight?
Mr. Green,
climb it.
you're going to struggle in the wintertime, my friend. You're going to struggle in the winter.
I've already got a pickleball paddle, so.
That's amazing. No, I don't think that was premature at all. I think that was very relevant to the conversation. Board members, if nothing else, I'll have them step down and give public comment here in a moment. Thanks, guys, we appreciate you. It's exciting, for sure. Would anybody on the public like to comment on this proposal? Come on up, sir.
I'm Tom Torson. I only have a recommendation. I haven't seen the blueprints, but on the pickleball, make sure the courts go north-south, because Decatur had to rip up all their pickleball courts because they're going east-west.
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, they're north and south.
Yeah.
Why is the direction and?
The
Yeah, what's
sun, the sun, then no one will play.
Oh. It's an expensive mistake. They're north and south, but that's a great comment.
Switch signs halfway through.
So,
Nice. Will the pickleball courts be lighted?
There is, they will be like.
Sweet.
so I throw that out there.
Nice, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Not something I would have thought about. Next,
Get your last name again, please.
last name?
Tom Torson.
Tom Torson. Good, bad, ugly? We accept all comments. No? Okay. Board members, what we're doing here is, would be a motion for approval, denial. So that would be how you would frame your motion.
I would like to recommend approval.
Make
Pass for this
a
project.
approval.
All right, we have a motion for approving the petition. Do we have a second? Ooh, ladies first. Sorry, sir. Ladies first. So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion on this one? All in favor, right hand? Opposed, same sign.
All right.
So
Next
cool.
Thing, there's a 30-day appeal period. If you want to get permits inside that 30-day, there is a waiver process to go through that we will give you a form to fill out. There's no remonstrance of today's project, so that would be something to look into. Else, you're good to go. Thank you.
Thank you, guys, appreciate it. Okay, we have one item in our other business category. It is the proposed solar ordinance amendment, and I believe at this point, I'm handing off the speaking category to Mr. Lotzenheiser.
Sounds exciting. Speaking categories.
You're on the hot seat, sir.
Thank you, I think.
You're welcome.
Okay, so in a previous county commissioners meeting, there was a proposed draft ordinance in regards to the solar energy projects in Wells County. At that time, the county commissioners decided to pass this along to the Wells County Plan Commission for our review and consideration of the proposed document. So over the last several weeks here, we have started the process of reviewing the proposal and to see how it would work into the Wells County zoning ordinance. So just to note kind of a high level, the draft ordinance was drafted mainly as a standalone document. The Wells County zoning ordinance, which would be the final location of any amendments, they don't go together without significant work being done to them. So we can't just take the words in the proposal and put them in the zoning ordinance. It's much more than that. There's also some things, as we move through this process, our office posted on social media kind of walking through what we would expect to happen in this process. So today, the goal is that we have the introduction to the proposal, what has been sent to us, some early thoughts on the ordinance proposal itself and what it would look like if we would move forward through the process. If the board, after our discussion today, believes that we want to continue down this path, Then at our next meeting in September, we would then put together a draft document, an early draft document for the board to have a discussion. There would be an opportunity, it wouldn't be an official public hearing, but would be an opportunity at that point for the public to make some comments at that point. It would still be under our other business items on the agenda, but we'd start through that process. And then if there was a coalition or collation of what we wanted at that meeting, then potentially at the October meeting, we would have the final draft document for the actual public hearing and potential recommendation. So that is the process, the fastest process for which we would think we'd walk through this process. And so we have a lot of things to kind of go over and discuss in regards to things that we can use and some things that don't make a lot of sense, that we need to play through this process and make sure that we're getting to the goal of the draft document as what the commissioners had tasked us to do. Now, the Planning Commission can do 3 things with this recommendation completely, and actually 4 things. One, we can review it and say, no, you know what, ordinance is good the way it is. We can also draft a document and give a do pass recommendation. We can draft a document and give a no recommendation. And also draft a document and say a do not pass recommendation. So we have 4 tools for us to consider in this. And that is for us to consider when we're talking about any potential ordinance amendment, not just this. There's lots of things that we may talk about at a meeting that don't actually come to fruition, or things that do move forward and become ordinance through that process. Many of the things that need to be adjusted are in formatting and terminology and verification of what the end goal is for each piece. The primary thing to understand in the draft document is that it is to prohibit the large-scale solar projects in Wells County. One of the things that we would need to be aware of is that the Paddlefish Solar Project does have signed agreements. Myself, Planning Commission attorney, have talked about this a little bit in regards to what that obligation is and how they may have a kind of grandfathered status in this process. So we need to look into that piece and how we would play that into a potential ordinance amendment. They are the only project of the multiples that have signed leases in Wells County that have some sort of contractual agreement with the local legislative body, though. So at that, board members, you've had a chance to look at the draft that was sent to us, as well as my director's opinion, and also, Tim, do you have anything you would like to add at this time? Otherwise, open up to discussion.
Did everyone get a copy?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yep.
then these are my thoughts, a lot of which kind of go with what Mike has already stated, some concerns that have been raised, as well as my recommendation at this point. This document, or the proposed ordinance, in a vacuum can make sense, but when you put it with the rest of the zoning ordinance, it just doesn't really make sense now. So it will have to be worked in order to make it workable with the rest of the zoning ordinances. If we were to do this, we do have to consider paddlefish, the effects that it would have on that, as well as other leases with solar energy at this point too. So, as is, I think there are things to discuss. There are things that need to be talked about. Basically, the main intent of what this document is supposed to bring for the county, I think, is the biggest concern. Once we get that, I think we can fill in the rest. Because as Mike said, most of it is just formatting form or sub-form over actual substance is the concern. But the biggest concern is how it will affect certain companies as well as agreements that the county has already entered into as well.
Mike, this
Yes.
was from the commissioners themselves?
No, it is proposed by citizens of Wells County.
Okay, and then the commissioners wanted us to take a peek.
That is correct. Yep. So that is what we're starting today. So the first step is, as Plan Commission, do you want us to move forward with drafting a proposed ordinance amendment using this as the starting point for your consideration at the September meeting?
That's John's hearing aid.
So, as it's currently drafted, it's a commissioner ordinance.
Correct, yes.
And as you go through it, there are things that, if you want to do this type of development, it has to be within the city limits. The commission, correct me if I'm wrong, the commissioners don't have the authority to say, here's what you have to do in the city. The city doesn't have the authority to say, here's what you have to do in the county. So those types of restrictions that are, I guess, commissioners saying that you have to do this in the city or whatever are kind of a moot point, that it's not. The example I'll use is if there's a snow emergency and the commissioners determine that there's a snow emergency, you can still drive around the city of Bluffton. Until the mayor says there's a snow emergency in Bluffton, there's not one in Bluffton, and vice versa. But that's kind of what this is asking us to do, the way it's drafted currently.
We definitely do have the responsibility when we're drafting Wells County zoning ordinance requirements to look at all the jurisdictions.
Well, and that's something that I guess I have, in talking with county surveyors around the state, other people, planners, zoners, commissioners, people at various conferences and all that stuff, that's something that I have always talked about, that here the rules are the same no matter where you are. And it's not, if we build across that road, it's a different set of rules than if you build on this side of the road. Or we want to build here before they annex it, because then there's a different set of rules. And it's kind of nice having things that are uniform. It doesn't matter where you do it, it's the same. The same set of rules, I will say. And I guess no matter what we do, if we go forward with anything, that needs, in my opinion, that needs to kind of stay the same. That it's it either applies everywhere or it doesn't apply anywhere. So.
Any ordinance amendment would have to go through to each applicable jurisdiction. And
Absolutely.
they could approve or deny it.
That is correct.
Austin could say no, or
Yeah.
other
And
jurisdictions.
Or Bonito,
could say
or
yes,
whatever,
yeah. And, technically speaking, we could have different ordinances in different jurisdictions, but we have fought long and hard since 1971 to keep it unified, and we would like to keep it that way. But yes, that is the goal, that, yes, this is going to go in front of all 7 participants when it comes down to it.
Now, one thing that I do like in this, there's I'm going to say a fairly large expansion in the definition of small and medium scale. Basically, the person that's building it's using the power. There's kind of an expansion in that. And I'm guessing, just knowing a little bit about size of arrays that are out there, there's probably some homeowner ones that were permitted as small units that probably, by our current rules, qualify as a medium scale. I don't know how you police that, how you regulate it.
Well, so we do know that there are some medium-scale ones that, because they had no hard surface, didn't go through a development plan process.
Right.
But yeah, correct, that there's,
I guess I would like to see, I like the numbers that they use for the small and medium. Personally, I think if they're putting it on the roof, or a canopy, or whatever, I don't think there should be any restriction, any hurdle that you have to jump across. It's not going to change the drainage. It's not encroaching or getting close to encroaching on someone's property. If it's going on a roof, if it's going on a gas station can, whatever, it's already there.
Yep.
It's not going to change anything. I want to see those get easier. That's me. Now, if you're putting up freestanding, that's a little bit different, that you might need to do an improvement location permit so that you can say, hey, you have to stay X number of feet away from a property line. You have to stay X number of feet. But if they're putting it on a building, it doesn't really change anything from what the building was before. So.
I have a question real quick. Before we get into the details of all of this, I'd like to know the board's opinion on, are we doing option one where we're just looking at this and saying, no way? Or are we all kind of like, we kind of need something? Like, what are your thoughts? Like, do we want to dig into this document? Do we want to go through this work and this effort to make it work? Is that something we want to tackle? That's what I want to know from the board. Before we start talking like, hey, this is my idea, and hey, this is this and this is that, where are we at? Where do we stand? Are you?
I'm going to say this. I don't want to do what Huntington County did. I don't want to form a committee or a subcommittee and hire a professional mediator and go through all the motions, and then at the end of it, somebody else does their own thing anyway.
Okay.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to waste our time.
Do you think that that would happen if we went and dug into this document?
I don't know. I just don't want to go down that path.
Okay. Noted.
If we want to look at it and make meaningful changes, okay. But let's not spend a lot of time and then come up with, okay, here's what we think is a compromise, and then that's going to get blasted anyway.
Yeah.
I don't want to do what they did.
So you want to go through with digging into this draft and making meaningful changes.
That would be adopted.
That would be
adoptable.
Adoptable changes. Yeah. Okay.
I would support that as well. Do we know if, from the commissioners, if it was kicked to us just because that's the proper procedure, or to take the heat off of them? I'm sorry, I'll just be frank. Or
Well, no, we're carrying a lot of water here.
I mean, like I understand, but like, is this something that they also would like us to go through?
The specific statement was, it is time for something like this to be done, is what they stated.
And for something to be done, that's our...
With the understanding that the goal of this document is what they do.
I second and support what Jared said, just noting that it's not a quick process. It takes work. I mean, it's a good start. I mean, there's going to be recommendations that some like, some don't like. So it's definitely not going to be anything that's quick. And if you want it done right, you don't want it to be quick. So.
And Tim, digging into this, after we would come up with something, you would go through it and make sure?
Yes, I would make sure, yes, that it follows through, fits in with all the other zoning ordinances,
Right.
as well as anything that would need to be amended in current zoning ordinances, if necessary, to fit this one would also go back.
So we got to back up, which is great. Thank you very much for that.
Let me ask you this, Mike. Let's say we go through this and we dig through this and we don't say, hire somebody to professionally help us through this process to make sure that all this fits and matches, and that prior agreements aren't breached in such a way, and we pass this and we go, whoops, we made a mistake on a few of these things here. Can you explain the process for backing ourselves out of that, saying, well, we adopted this, and as it turns out, it doesn't match these things? How would we back out of that as a group, having got into that without any professional help?
Well, I would first say that we do have professional help. So, but the second part of that is that the document is always living, and if there is something in the document that is adopted by the local legislative bodies that ends up not working well, then we have the ability as Plan Commission to make a recommendation for an amendment to that document. And that would be the process.
I have a question. You talked about paddlefish
Yes.
and their leases. How long, are they all similar in when they expire? Or is it, can they sign up and have them go ongoing? Or how long are their leases for when they sign up?
Are they currently at 10 years? Is that what we're-
I think
have to
the
look at it,
concern-
'cause I got the
I
link.
had heard a few, because I'm from out there, and I had heard where some of them were expiring, and then they weren't going to re-sign. So I just didn't know how long they were for.
There was one lease this year that they released. That was recorded. I know that happened.
Paddlefish explicitly?
Yeah, it was one that was outside of their project area proposal. But I think the concern point, not as much with the leases, that may be a separate discussion, but was with the economic development agreement that the commissioners and council have signed with Paddlefish. That was the document that has the concern pieces in it.
So Tim, you mentioned that Paddlefish has the only legal contract with a governing body in Wells County. We go through all this, take all this time and do this, and we do it the right way. You check off all the boxes, double check that we did it the right way. Can they wiggle out of that?
Wiggle out of their lease?
No.
I mean, out of the agreement on their end?
No, just even though we do all this, they can still go through and do it.
So that's something that just has to be considered with the intent of what we're going, and I think that's something that has to be dived into, is the document that we create, is it going to frustrate the agreement that we have with them? And that's the intention? Or are we going to work to incorporate that agreement and make it work moving forward? If that makes sense, so that we don't have another paddlefish, or, and so other companies can't come in moving forward. And we accept, so we have to decide, do we try to frustrate the contract we have with paddlefish, or accept that's what this is, but we don't let it happen again? And that's something that will have to be discussed amongst everyone and decide how we exactly, what we want the ordinance to accomplish if we are going to move forward with it.
So that makes sense to me. So basically what we're looking at is how do we prevent it, and if we can't prevent it, prevent future.
Correct.
So I'm going to go back to the Huntington County example.
Yep.
Exactly.
The ordinance that they proposed, or I think has passed, they made, I forget what the setbacks are, I'll say 1,000 feet from pretty much everything known to man. 1,000 feet from a road, 1,000 feet from a ditch, 1,000 feet from a tree, 1,000 feet from a house, property line. Rock, anything. 1,000 feet from everything, can't be on prime farmland, lots of things. Once again, I'm not willing to go down that path either. If we say that we don't want it, we're not going to try to make a bunch of BS rules to say that, well, we really don't want it, but we're going to make rules and we're going to make it sound like we kind of do. We're either going to say it's not a permitted use, or we're going to make reasonable rules. My opinion. That's the two choices. Now, does a setback need to be changed, tweaked, a little bit, whatever? I'm okay with that. But we either take a stand and say it's not a permitted use, or I don't want to say we leave it alone. We might make some tweaks to it, but it's not going to change substantially. That's my opinion.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
How with you? Could we do a public comment and get that out of the way? Would this be appropriate time for that?
No.
Might give us some things to discuss further.
To be real honest, and there are so many things in this that have to be changed to get it to anything that we can really even comment on, or that anybody can comment on. I think You know, it can't be in an area zone C1 or C2. Commercial. There is no commercial district zone C1 or C2. C1 is conservation. That's it. That there are so many things that have to be changed to make this fit in the zoning ordinance.
Is it worth considering, excuse me, is it worth considering maybe a limited public comment on things where we're trying to identify what the intent is of what they're proposing, not necessarily dive into whether it's good, bad, whatever, but just what are they saying?
It's like, to me, they're saying they don't want it.
I think the intent's pretty clear.
It's not murky.
Right. This board voted unanimously for a do not pass recommendation for large-scale solar. That's what we did. Our intent is to prevent this. That's our intent. Correct me if I'm wrong, board.
The Vision 2035 plan, yeah.
Yeah, that's our intent, is to, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't completely agree with that.
Okay.
There was a overlay zoning petition
Yep.
asked for. This board gave it unanimous, do not pass recommendation. Commissioners, I'm going to say, let that decision stand. So I think generally, we let that one go.
Elaborate, what do you mean by letting it go?
They didn't take action on it.
Okay,
So our decision held.
which was?
Because no, it was a do not pass on a rezoning request.
Okay,
There's rezoning or overlay zoning.
Yep.
There's a development plan. There's two different things.
okay,
These rules are development plan. With one minor thing is this, if it's over 5 megawatt.
5 megawatts.
It's not a permitted use.
Yep.
And you're kind of doing away with that whole rezoning thing, that if it's under that, it's under the
Correct.
5 megawatt, it's good. It's okay, it's permitted use. I think we want to make sure that everybody really means that.
Yeah.
Not, well, it's okay today until one's going to get built, and then it's not okay.
is a megawatt 1,000 kilowatts?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that is accurate.
Okay.
I have to think about my metric system.
I know, that's,
Yeah.
How many, I was gonna say,
Because there are two types of countries in this world. Those that use the metric system and those that put a man on the moon.
depends on who you talk to.
And we don't do it again anyways.
Yeah, we are.
roughly how many?
Okay.
That would be, would you have?
So, again, Tim,
Up to about 50.
can we frustrate them enough to not do this?
And when I say frustrate, does that mean, I don't mean like in the colloquial, make them angry. I'm saying we make it so their contract, they cannot, it would be impossible for them to do what the contract says that they will be able to do.
Okay.
Based on, we have an ordinance that says you can no longer do this. And so that's what I mean by frustrate.
Is that possible?
And that's something that would have to be discussed. There are potential liabilities that the county could be in for if that were to, so that is something that just has to be considered. What exactly did we promise, or on our end, what exactly did we agree to in this agreement? And what would the liability the county could possibly face if we then create an ordinance that blocks them from fulfilling, and does not allow us to fulfill our end of the promise later? That's just something that has to be considered, if that's something we're willing to do, something that, sort of run a cost-benefit analysis on that, if that's something that we want to do. And also just kind of look into the actual legal framework and what we actually agreed to and what liability we're actually would be facing if that were something that we'd come across.
So because of some of the agreements that were made, we have a really sticky situation.
That is correct.
That is correct, yes.
Is that a legal term?
Yeah, sticky, and that we'll use in the colloquial term where.
Sticky,
Yeah.
that's the middle school term, folks.
Everything's sticky.
So, there's only a couple of options. If we want to go down the path of saying no addition, projects. You could exempt out paddlefish, they would be under the current zoning as it is today.
As we agreed to it, yeah.
As it is today.
Which we already said no to.
We said no.
But the ordinance,
To the
to the ordinance, yeah.
To the overlay district, to the rezoning, or, yeah, overlay zoning. So we could say that project exempt from new ordinance, and then you could go down a different, completely different path and probably avoid most, if not all, of that liability.
I think, well.
It's a good question.
Minus the form that needs to be changed, such as the C1, C2.
Right.
You could add something to the effect of this, simply saying all solar energy projects already contracted with the county are not affected by this ordinance, and then at the date of passing, and then this just takes place on the date of passing moving forward.
Okay.
And that in and of itself would fix that issue if we determine, or you guys as a board determine, you are okay with or paddlefish, we just don't want another paddlefish. And that's something that would be a paragraph that could fix that in and of itself.
Doing that does not change the board's ability to make their own recommendation if there was another paddlefish solar P1 overlay district petition. Doesn't affect it, it exists under the old ordinance. So it doesn't change if there would be another petition under the old ordinance and it went through the same exact process and the board felt the same way about it, they could do the same action. Board, by grandfathering it, does not obligate the Plan Commission in any way to make any type of specific recommendation.
It just says that the rules are the same as they were when
Yeah.
that contract was signed. And the rules at that time are first step, overlay
Overlay zoning.
second step, development plan.
That's correct. Because one of the things, if we followed the concept here that's proposed, the existing development plan requirements for large-scale projects would go away. Just like the large-scale solar or wind project development plan requirements went away when we changed that to not be a permitted use.
You say they go away, but we kind of have to save them because that's what, if one was exempted, that's what it's going to have to follow, right?
So that's why it would be exempted using with all the protections in place from the prior ordinance adoption.
Okay, so way back to the last big meeting, I had spoke up and had said that basically this is the situation, the type of situation that I felt like that if Wells County began to get rolling with some of these solar farms and things, this is exactly the type of situation that we would end up in, where we're all sitting here going like, what do we do? Like the county's realistically put itself in a situation. And as more and more of that stuff rolled in, I felt that it was prudent for Wells County to sit back and just see how this played out in a few places. And here we are already having rejected the P1 overlay district, and we're immediately embroiled in this. And I don't even know if it's wise to ask this question here. And everybody may be upset with me here, but I could make a motion here. And I think I might just do that. I know this is a little bit out of the order of things here for the day. So be mad at me if you will, and vote it down if you like. But I think I'd like to make a motion that, since we're discussing the ordinances, that we just remove all language at this time that pertains to solar panels and solar farms. Just remove that language from the ordinance.
We can't do that. So you're talking about small people's houses, everything?
Well, those are, additions to their structure already. So I believe that in the attorney's opinion that was addressed, that would, that already comes under a different ordinance.
think we're just not at the point where that
Yeah,
we
you
could do
can't,
anything
we
with that.
can't really do a motion yet without
So-
public comment.
So wait, let me ask, I have another question. Essentially, you're saying a moratorium.
Well, I just say that the motion's on the floor, so I'll go ahead
There's a reason I'm asking that.
again, please.
You're essentially saying, let's put a moratorium on.
I'm suggesting that we strike the language, because the way it's written, if the language isn't in there, it's not allowed.
That's correct.
Is it not,
If
is it
if
not allowed, or is it just, it's the Wild West?
No, if it's not specifically defined, it would become, I mean, his statement's accurate. The permitted use table starts by saying that if it's not specifically defined, it is not a permitted use in the Wells County zoning ordinance. I think the path that we're on, if we said, yes, do that, would essentially do the same thing. Just walking through the process, that if large has no X next to it, it's the same thing, except it's defined and we know what the difference between medium and large is.
And I guess I'm going to say, before we go down that path, we're going to have a meeting with public comment.
Yeah.
Because they're, you're changing an ordinance, and,
Yeah, we can't change it.
You have to have a public hearing.
we're not changing it. We're not changing it. We're making a recommendation to somebody else to change it.
Right.
Want to try.
I don't think you want to do that with absolutely no public comment.
Also, if you strike that, then what Tim said earlier, we would enter the county into the worst-case scenario situation of they're already agreed to legal commitments to paddlefish, and we would, I don't even know how many, what the number would be on that. So if we strike it now, we immediately went into Wells County worst-case scenario. The legislative bodies signed agreements that were legal.
Now they're exposed to liability.
And now, if we do that, then we have just, excuse my language, we have put ourselves in a huge situation of liability, major situation. And so I just can't, in good conscience, say that's what we got to do. We got to look out for the entire county, and we can't strike anything yet because of liability and because other bodies besides ourselves entered into legal contractual agreements with paddlefish. So we can't do that. We would just instantly go into zone red, and it would be a legal nightmare.
Tim, is that in fact accurate?
Yes, it is. Is that EDA public record?
Yes.
Is it available somewhere, or do we have to submit a request for it?
We can make it available. It's a recorded document, and we have access.
Does that make
to
sense,
it.
Jeff?
Oh, no,
That was to the commission.
you're right. Okay,
I like what you're doing. I like what you're saying.
you're fine,
I
but
think if we were to do that,
We can't jump into
in
the
a
pond.
meeting with no I mean, it's arbitrary, it's capricious. Just hand them the lawsuit.
Pretty much.
okay, so now, let it be said, I think that the public comment portion is now appropriate, and having had that discussion and forced it upon you, I will now withdraw my motion.
Accepted, sir. Accepted. Very much accepted. Here's what I think, Board. I really want to know what the worst-case scenario is. I want to know what the county would be liable for, and if they can actually assume that liability. If they made a mistake, and I want to know the worst-case scenario. If we say no, because this can be real easy for us. If the county goes back and they look at their liability and look at the worst-case scenario, and they're like, nah, it's $5, then we strike it. That make sense? But if we don't know what the worst-case scenario is, we could be scared of a mouse when it's really a lion. We don't know. And so I don't think we have enough information at this point. I really need to know what's the worst that can happen. If we do this, and we change all this, and we say no, and we strike your language, we do what you want, or we do what this is, and we don't know what the worst-case scenario is, that's what we need to know. We're operating with one eye open right now. We don't know. And I need to know what the worst-case scenario is.
So then are we now at a position where we should ask for a little bit of professional help to help us know what that looks like?
Well, I was just gonna say, I agree, you don't have all the data.
Right.
And since you're trying to be an active part of this and make the right choices, we need to, like, how big is that liability?
Right.
You know, is it a new car? Is it half the county? I mean, what's the liability exposure?
Mm-hmm.
That's important to know.
And I think also because we advertised, or it was put on social media, that there was not going to be public comment at this meeting. That I don't think you have public comment, and then other people that say, well, I saw it was on there, and so I didn't come to the meeting.
Correct.
I think you've got to wait until the meeting that we said on social media, that's when we're going to take public comment. I think that's what you have to do.
I agree. Would you, board members, would you be in agreement with me that we need to know what the worst-case scenario is so we know what our goals should be?
My question to the board is...
This board didn't sign any agreements.
We didn't, yeah.
We didn't.
Yeah.
This board can do whatever.
Who signed it? I want to see the
County
EPA.
commissioners and county council.
Right.
Because I agree, I understand, I don't want to.
The economic development agreement from
The county,
Paddlefish.
the councils, because that is going to monetarily affect citizens. Don't want to do that, don't want to just blindly do it. But I would like to see that EDA. We didn't agree into it.
That's why I say, this board can do whatever. When it goes to the next step of being approved, is all of that for nothing? Or is it, do we need to know going in, you've got to exempt this one, and you can do it for the rest, or whatever? I think we've got to have that information first.
I would agree with you.
Okay, so there's a couple greenhorn questions here. Are we doing this simply, are we going through this process simply just for the Board of Commissioners because they now want to back out of this thing? Because it's politically expedient for them to do so?
Can't back out of it. I think they were presented with a ordinance,
I think that's making.
and they told us to take a look at it.
That's conjecture, I don't know that that's accurate.
Like I said, they were presented with an ordinance, and they said, it's really Plan Commission purview. Take a look and see what you think. Make a recommendation.
Yeah.
Well, to look.
Well, then I don't, okay, so then we've had all this discussion, and I understand that conjecture, and I don't know, what their beliefs on this are, necessarily what they want. Like you said, we've only just been given this document that was presented to them. But here we are sitting here saying, but somehow or another, it's our job to help them get out of some situation they may be in. So are we helping them out of a situation, or are we just trying to avoid getting ourselves into
I
it
don't
here?
think it's our job to get them out of a situation. It's our job to research it, make a recommendation, whatever that recommendation is.
Yeah.
There's
Then
no
it's their job to
getting out of
either
this
approve or deny.
situation.
I think we need to look at the process and figure out how we got here in the first place to avoid future problems, too.
Well, I'm concerned that we're sitting here making a decision based solely on the fact of whether or not we'll get sued or not, as a county. Somehow or another,
But it's a reality.
That's the reality. That's what we're facing on this board.
Partly a reality.
Yeah.
For one piece. Of potentially dozens of future things that could happen.
So it's been said that, the board here, and Tim, tell me if I'm accurate in this or not, it's been said that this board will not be being sued for this. I understand ultimately it's the whole county, but this board won't be being sued for this. So can we just fall back here on our mission here? Our tenets that we normally do and say that this ordinance does not meet, as it's presented to us, and somebody put a lot of effort into it, and I admire that, but it just does not meet muster here. And say, this is the ordinance that's put in front of us, and that's the thing to vote on, and just say it does not meet, and we can just do a do not pass on this. That's something we can do.
Instead of trying to polish it?
It's a long, somebody put a lot of effort into it, that's clear. Somebody worked hard on this, and I admire that. But it's just way off.
Yeah, the thing is, the different boards should work in conjunction. So commissioners, then us. And so that's like your boss, then you. Does that make sense? So commissioners say, hey, we need to do something. It's time to do something about this. We're in a pickle. We're not saving anybody, but we need to look at this and see what we can do with it. Because something needs to be done with it. You recommended striking all the language. We have all these documents to look through everything with. Does that make sense so far? So we can't just blindly, as a board, just tell the commissioners, nah, we're an entity that's connected very, very closely, so we're going to have to work with that. We can't just say no. Does that make sense? That's what we're here for. That's the whole purpose of being on this board, is to work with the extra governing bodies and make everything work together. And so they're not just dumping this on our plate. They're like, take a look at it. Tell us what we need to do. Does that make sense? I understand. So we're working together just by, I don't think that just saying no to this, I don't think that's wise. I think we need to take a look at it within reason.
And let's just say, and I'm just throwing this out here, and I'm going to throw out numbers that are not what are necessarily on my mind. The setback, current setback from a residence is 400 feet, correct? Correct. And say, at the end of the day, we come down to it and we say, you know, it really ought to be an eighth of a mile. It really ought to be 660. Do I think that we could make some minor tweak like that that would apply to everybody, that would, you know, set us up for a lawsuit, all that stuff? No, I don't. I think if it was some minor, there's a good reason, there's a valid reason, there's some research out there, whatever, that says, hey, this is the magic number that you should have met, and that 10 years ago, when we passed this ordinance to start with, and then, 4 or 5 years ago, it was modified because of some state laws and things that changed, you know, that, hey, it needs to be that number. Do I think that we're all going to go right straight to court over it? No, I don't. That might be the answer at the end of this. That there might be some reasonable changes that need to be made, that there's some science behind. Could happen. It could be that this one's exempt and there ain't going to be another one. That could be the answer too. But I think we've got to spend some time on it, and what was presented does not work in the zoning.
No, not even remotely.
And you can't have the commissioners passing an ordinance that then is in direct conflict with the zoning ordinance. So, I mean, it's got to fit in the zoning ordinance.
Which is one of the reasons why the commissioner sent it to us in the first place.
Like, here, take a look.
Yep. So y'all want to dig into this?
It sounds like that's what we need to do.
I mean, I didn't ask what you wanted to do.
I didn't answer what I want to do.
I did ask what you want to do, that's fair, but what do we need to do?
It's a family show, I don't want to say.
I think there are more restrictions that would be appropriate for our ordinance regarding utility scale.
Or industrial scale?
I think there are some reasonable
Restrictions, restrictions or prohibition? That's important.
You can go down that road and find out.
I think it's clear that listening to public opinion, what the board voted and what we have done, that we don't want anything more. The county doesn't want any more. They don't even want the one that is proposed. I don't know if it's within our power to prevent the one, but I think it should be this board's goal to prevent the rest. If we can prevent the one, great, but if we can't, then because of liabilities and the twisted knots that we've twisted ourselves into, we need to figure out a way to say, well, okay, our mistake, and prevent anything else.
Is there any way to prevent the future, but restrict any that would be grandfathered?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So that would be a discussion like what Jared stated. Is there a tweak that wouldn't, on its face, devastate the project.
I guess I'm thinking out loud.
Fine.
What's the setback from a non-participating property line? Let's just say it's 100 feet, for sake of argument. And we decide that a cornfield doesn't care if there's a solar panel back at the back of it. It really doesn't care. So, hey, we're going to reduce that setback down to 50, but we want you to stay a quarter of a mile away from a house. And in the grand scheme of things, project can still go on, project can still be built, but it keeps it farther away from houses. Is that reasonable? Is that going to make everybody happy? I can answer that question, no. But is it reasonable? Are we going to go straight to court because we changed that and we said, hey, we made it easier here, we made it a little harder there? I doubt it.
I think because of the language, which I was aggressively alluding to earlier, that if it's not in the ordinance, it's disallowed. So the question, we were going, pardon me, playing both sides of the fence there. We have to decide if we're gonna open up our ordinances and put language in there that allows this, and we've said this again, this is like the 5th time here today, or disallows it. That's really.
It's already allowed.
I know, and so what I'm saying is are we approaching this in a way as a board that we say, yes, we're gonna allow it, we're gonna make this reasonable for people to get this done in our county, or are we going to just make it, put up a bottleneck, so to speak?
And I guess what I'm saying is, do we have kind of 3 options? Do we say, not a permitted use, period, but one is grandfathered in with the rules as they are today that nobody likes? Or do we have the option of saying, let's make some reasonable changes, let's see if we can make it better, and maybe a project that would be grandfathered in might say, yeah, we'd make those changes. Yeah, we could live with that. That's a second option. Or the third option is we don't do anything. We just leave it the way it is. I was probably one of the few that's still sitting in here that is still on the Plan Commission when the wind farm stuff was discussed. And then we had committee meetings and a lot of people, and everybody will deny it, but I'm telling you, if it was just solar, not wind, because those are 400 feet tall and all that stuff. If it was just that, it would be okay. That wasn't okay. That was just said. That wasn't what everybody meant. I don't want to go through that again. Well, I want to go through, let's see if we can fix it. Let's see if we can make the rules, if that's truly not what we want. But we're kind of painted into a corner. There's one project that we might be able to make changes that they could live with that would make that project better too. We might be able to.
So we've done a lot of talking so far about all the people who don't want anything to do with solar in Wells County. What about the people who want to farm solar on their land? I mean, I know everything I said before, but I'm going to say the other side of this. Shouldn't we, it is their land.
And just recently, I'm going to say I've had more contact with farmer, not just farmland owners, farmers that farm for a living. That's what they do. That's their business. They have contacted me and said, tap the brakes here on what you're about to do. And so at our next meeting, there might be a little bit more public comment on the other side of it, from what we've heard. That when corn was $6 or better, it wasn't a big deal. And today, there's some guys that are going, wait a minute. And they're people that own the land and farm it. But I've had more contact from those people in the last week, since this has all kind of went public, that we're going to talk about this. I think they have their opportunity to speak as well at our next meeting. And then we've got to weigh both sides.
That is correct. We're obligated to weigh both sides of the coin.
If I remember right, from talking with you about a week or so ago, there's still an avenue, right, where we avoid potential liability by trying to, get rid of the one that already has a contract. There's an avenue to avoid that liability, and yet they still don't end up building because they can't meet other ordinance requirements, right? It's not a given.
Yeah,
that it's
so,
going to happen.
so we do, the Plan Commission, the process still exists, where there's an overlay district, the Plan Commission has a public hearing, make a recommendation, that recommendation gets served by the county commissioners if it's in the same area as it was before, and they do what they need to do with it. And then there's the development plan side, which is the ordinance regulations that they have to meet. We just heard 3 of them today, or 2 of them today, where if they meet all the requirements, they get approved, but if they don't meet some of the requirements, then that brings up a discussion of whether or not there's a modification that's worthy, or does it get denied? So that is the process today that can happen. And would still be the process if we decided that projects with signed agreements with a local legislative body were grandfathered under the old ordinance. I think one of the key terms to make sure to understand is that they're not exempt. They would be required to do what they're required to do right now. That there is no, like, oh, we're just gonna let you go.
It's not the Wild West.
Yeah, but they're going to, they would have to make it through the processes that are in place today. That is to be clear too.
And this would, if we dove into this, would restrict those processes and potentially could restrict it enough that paddlefish could not do what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Well, if you're talking grandfathering in, probably not.
Okay.
If whatever this new ordinance would do, if they're grandfathered in, they're grandfathered in. I think what Mike is trying to say was, it's not a done deal. They still have rules that they have to follow with the current ordinances, and if they can't do that, they can't do that.
And if we pass new ordinance before they come before you, they have to comply with the new stuff we pass.
No.
No?
These are grandfathers, right?
So,
is that right?
If they're grandfathered in, they're grandfathered. That would be, I think if they want to do if they come in with a new contract, then the new one, they would have to follow whatever is newly in place.
yeah, so there's this almost puts like another option in the play. Like,
Play it. Put it on the table, brother.
A soft ordinance amendment first, a hard ordinance amendment second. Soft ordinance amendment changes the rules to the way you would like one project to go through. Hard ordinance amendment would make it for everything else.
Stop everything else.
If you really truly thought that there was something to amend in the existing development plan requirements that would make a project better if it had to happen, then you could do it first, knowing that the only risk is that if in that time period another project files a petition, and they have also jumped in under that ordinance.
But doesn't our ordinance require that those agreements be signed before they can file that petition?
No. These agreements were signed before they came in. Our ordinance says that they have to be signed before they get a permit.
Before they build, okay.
So these agreements existed long before they even filed with the Plan Commission, which is why we're in this situation. If you remember with the wind farm projects, the agreements were in formation process when we were having our development plan hearings. We kind of knew what was in them, or what could be in them, but none of them were signed. And that was very different. That there wasn't a final draft, nobody had signed on the dotted line, that was different.
And we've got people signed on the dotted line.
This is, yeah.
And the whole
these are-
county
these
is
are-
signed on the dotted line.
These are obligated.
Are there others? I don't want to risk opening this up even more, but
No, it's just paddlefish.
Well, so are you asking whether or not there are other potential
EDAs
petitioners?
that-
Yeah, no.
No, there's no
There's
other.
one.
Okay.
There are other solar companies that have signed leases in Wells County.
Right, but.
That is,
Economic development agreements.
no, not even a, I don't know if there's been one drafted for anybody else. I know there are solar companies that have the document that Paddlefish signed, because I know they asked for them. But I don't know, beyond that, I don't even know if there's been any negotiations with any of the others. I don't know that, so.
Is it appropriate or any way that we can ask the commissioners, what do they want to see?
They said, look into this. It's time to do something like this.
Take a look.
Yeah.
I don't know that they even went as far as saying like this. I think
No,
it's
they,
just like,
Jeff very specifically said it's time to look
take a look at this.
at this.
Okay. So we could conject that
Then,
they would like some more restrictions or prohibitions.
that's
That's
how I
exactly
took
what
it. That's
this
how I
is.
took it.
Change.
Yes,
Which we're also hearing from the public that they would like.
yes.
Commissioners are saying that, public's saying that. So,
Where's the fall guy?
But I want to say this.
Say again?
Or the fall guy?
But I want to say this, we had a specific rezoning request. That's where we heard a lot of that public comment. This is an ordinance amendment.
Yep.
We might have different public comment from different angles.
Yep.
I think we have to wait until we hear that,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
So maybe to weigh this a little bit more, if we walk down the process of that initial timeline that I talked about, then at the next meeting, there would be a draft or drafts for the board to consider and for public discussion. Is one of the drafts to follow as closely as possible with this document that you want to see? And is there anything else?
I guess I'm going to say, one is follow along with that document as close as you can, but keeping it unified, that
Yep.
that whatever you do in the city of Bluffton is the same as you do in Penedo and the same as you do in Wells County. Like, try to keep it consistent.
Okay.
okay.
I think that's one option.
So that's just gonna kick it down the curve from southern Wells to northern Wells.
Not even that, it's, I don't
Well, I
think,
mean, in doing that, we're avoiding that.
yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter where you're, and
Yeah.
so for small and medium, that's a business that wants to put up their own, it's whatever. I don't think we want to put a business at a competitive advantage or disadvantage just because they have their business out in the rural area. Or they have a business in town, or, oh, well, you need to move your business from your house that you've had it there for the last 50 years, and you need to move it to town so you can do this. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's our place. I think if it's for a business, if it's for a homeowner, it doesn't matter if you're in the city of Bluffton or out where I live, the playing field needs to be level. From a using it yourself, business, using it, whatever, I think that all needs to be equal. One of the other things in here is it talks about if you have a bona fide net metering agreement. Well, the cartels lobbied the state legislature
To remove that.
5-6 years ago, and that doesn't exist anymore.
Yep.
So, it's not a net metering agreement, it's, I forget what the power purchase agreement, I forget what it's actually called, there's a term for it. It needs to say that. There's just a lot of little corrections that need to be made. I think I know what they mean.
Yeah.
You know, they're saying if you have an agreement with your utility that you're buying back, selling back power, whatever, that you can do it. Well, it's not a net metering agreement anymore. So. But I think we know what they mean to do. But I think that's one option, and then another option is, well, okay, is there some reasonable restrictions and all that? Do you kind of try to go down that path? And I don't know what the answer to that is. I don't think that's going to make anybody happy, to be real honest, but.
It's not.
Is this going to require a separate meeting in a bigger venue?
Maybe. I think we will have that discussion at our next meeting, whether or not the.
If you're going to have public comment, and as hot button as this is, I mean, is this venue big enough?
That's a fair conversation.
Like the library?
So we have 2 evening option spaces. One is at the Chamber of Commerce, and one is at the 4-H building.
Parking is easier at the 4-H building.
Agree. We would have to look first, we'd have to look at date availability.
Is this document right here?
Yep.
Is this, when you talked earlier about 90% of it needs to be reworded to fit, is this document?
Where I'm.
You're changing the wording to make it fit with.
Starting to talk about that, yes.
Starting to talk
Yeah,
about that
talking
process.
How that would look like.
So 90% of the problem with the original document sent by the commissioners, 90% of that problem is it doesn't fit because of the language usage, correct? Is that a fair percentage?
I would say that, some of it is that way. Some of it is that it might kind of run into itself, the way that's drafted. So we would need to just look at it and be like, okay, this is what they meant to say. This is how we're going to put it into action.
Okay. And that would be kind of 90% of the issue?
Yeah, correct.
So what I think we should do, personal opinion, fix the 90% and then take a look at it for the tweaks, Jared. Right?
I mean, we could, yes.
Tim?
I was just going, in that 90%, I think that would also need to include those, such as the definition for solar energy project, where they're saying, oh, the large scale is this, the medium scale is this, small scale is this. That's different than the current definitions we have. So that's that's a little more than just the terminology. That would require, if we wanted to in fact use these definitions, we would then need to amend our current ordinances as well as it relates to that. Or amend this back to that. So it's a little bit more than just terminology in that 90%, I would say.
Amendments.
But we could follow that in an ordinance definition or amendment.
Okay, yeah.
Again, it would be touching multiple articles inside the zoning ordinance.
Tim, in your opinion, can we, even if we grammatically fix this document to fit into our ordinances, get some of that language and stuff straightened out, in your original attorney's opinion, there was still some discussion about how this document still left open for lawsuit. Do you think that by primarily fixing the grammatical issues so that it snugly fits into our ordinance,
And amending the new definitions?
in amending those definitions, that will at least favorably eliminate the task of being sued? No.
Because this, as is, prohibits large scale, which is exactly what Paddlefish is trying to do, and we agreed to let them do.
So then we'll be back right on to.
Right, that issue is a down the road issue and how we're going to handle that.
Yeah.
But I do agree with Tyson that the easy fix would be, let's just make this so it would fit with what we currently have and then go from there.
Is it possible for the large scale to add some restriction or prohibition that it cannot be sold to a public utility provider?
I don't think you can make that.
So then this becomes public utility, which then is exempt from.
All of Paddlefish's
You can't.
promises.
Can't do that.
Because that's
I don't believe
kind of
it
what's
needs to.
taking place in Blackford County.
Saying it,
With the
utility
AEP.
scale can happen, but it cannot be sold to a public utility provider.
I don't think
You can't make.
Well, if we go back to the last big meeting we had, I think I remember that Paddlefish said that they've never done that and wouldn't do that.
No, but money
They did it 7 times.
Yeah,
Money
I
talks.
don't know.
They never fulfilled their landscaping dreams that they proposed.
Yeah, that we stay in the focus of regulation. I know the amended opinion letter at the end, I'd mentioned that there's a quick 4-option kind of point that we could take a look at. One is adjust the definitions of the solar energy facilities to meet what is proposed, the new numbers. It's a very minor amendment that makes the other stuff make sense. Remove permitted use of large solar facility under the P1 overlay district. That would accomplish the next section of the proposal. The third one is where I think there's some discussion, is regards to what happens what are the reasonable regulations on medium and small? The zoning ordinance already sends structure mounted on its own path, separate from all the others. So that really doesn't have to change.
So with structure mounted, there is.
Structure mounted is, you just need a permit to put them on the roof.
Okay.
But it doesn't send them down a development plan unless if the building that they're being on is new and the building requires a development plan. That's the only time they've got to do anything else.
Right.
So it's really nothing about the solar panels, all about the building
Okay.
that they sit on. So we can look at that, but if there's setbacks or screening or something to medium scale or small scale, that's where there's maybe some questions in what's drafted and be like, okay, well, let's make sure that we're talking about the same thing and that the items that end up in the zoning ordinance are defendable. That's where we can spend quite a bit of time. I think the first two are pretty straightforward. Boom, boom. We know that's clear what wants to happen. 3 is open, and 4 is the discussion about whether or not a project that has a signed agreement with a local legislative body would continue to operate under the pre-existing zoning ordinance.
I think you almost have to draft it that way.
Yeah.
Now, we can have the discussion here of whether that's what we want to
Well, it doesn't have to,
propose or not. I mean,
but that would be like the structure point of starting the discussion. If we put a draft together for the planning commission to have a public discussion on it next meeting, and it encompassed those 4 things, would you be good seeing that at your next meeting?
It covers everything we've discussed. Obviously, I don't like number 4, but I don't think we can get out of number 4. Legally, we've got signed legal contracts.
I like it because it fits the purpose of the board, Mike. That fits our function.
And then, at that draft, Jared, if you wanted to then reasonably tweak.
no, I'm asking,
what
I'm asking is, so with the one that's going to get grandfathered in, do we want to try to do something that, hey, let's try to make that better, but not make it unbuildable?
I say yes, but
So that would be like its own.
I'd like an
direction.
unbuildable.
That would operate its own thing. Knowing that Paddlefish's existing proposal, their last proposal, included 2 self-voluntary increases in setback requirements from what we required in the first place.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of what Paddlefish had was already largely acceptable through ordinance, and if I remember back to some of the public comment, most of it didn't have much to do with their setbacks to start with.
So the Congress and the president solved one of the problems that everybody complained about,
Which was?
that it was subsidized. That ship sailed, it's settled.
For 2 years, it's sailed.
You know, that was a lot of argument, that it was subsidized. Well, Congress and the president fixed that problem.
I think the other sentiment was largely that we like farm ground here. We like to look at corn grow.
And like I say, I think we need to hear from some farmers that it is their, like you said, it's their land. They probably know best what they might have to do to keep their farm in operation, and that's their decision. I may not agree with it, I may not like it, but it is their decision. And
So it sounds like we're just settling on, we're going to make more restrictive ordinances and run down that path.
I think so.
I think it's probably our only path.
If the commissioners already signed into an agreement, they've done this to themselves. They signed into the agreement, and now they want us to change our ordinance to make it so they can't do it.
I don't know if that's the right way to say it or not.
I'm not politically correct, I know. Just say it though.
There have been agreements signed by both the county council and the county commissioners that kind of paint them into a corner.
Hey, Tim just made a comment, and I think it's worthwhile hearing. Make one ordinance that eliminates it without the grandfather clause. Make another one that eliminates it with the grandfather clause. Send it to the commissioners and say, sign whichever one you want.
And both are
Pick your
open for
poison.
public.
Pick your poison, the public or the lawsuit.
I think it's complicated, but
But I enjoy that idea. I think that's wise counsel. Thoughts?
Good counsel.
I like that.
Yeah, why don't we,
Well, then we have
Well, we
public
still-
comment on both.
Go ahead.
Will we still look into what the, what paddlefish the county would be liable for, I guess.
yeah, you're going to look in the EDA, aren't you?
I mean, I would
we
like to
will,
see it. I mean,
we will, try to.
Is it possible,
get some-
Tim, to find out what that would be?
A lot of that, though, depends on how much money they've already spent in preparation for this project, how much they're expected
They're
to
not
make
gonna tell you.
because of this project. So we don't really know what the liability will be because we don't know how much money is actually in it at this time.
I got you.
So, on a breach of contract like that, is that just simple damages or treble damages or what?
You
What are
know,
we looking
and that's the issue is we really determine.
future income.
We could get future damages, punitive damages, based because we would be construed that this was acting in bad faith,
Okay.
which could set us up for more punitive damages, not just the damages that. from
It's not
what
just
we
actual,
referred-
not just
right,
actual right now. Okay. But it wouldn't be triple.
What's that?
It wouldn't be treble damages for that.
Yeah,
It's,
that would be, I would think that would, I don't want to say no for sure, but I think that's probably correct. I would say yes.
but you could have future punitive others.
Yes. On what they were expected to get through the life of the contract, yes.
I
But that's
like
more in our budget.
the option of having two options presented, having a public hearing on those, and then presenting.
I agree with you.
I do too.
Can I ask an attorney's perspective on this? Like, how did, we sign a contract and we make all these agreements before it's ever been approved and through any of boards? Like, is there a way to stay out of that situation in the future?
Backwards.
That almost seems backwards. Is this normal?
To do what's been done?
Yeah.
I don't want to comment on what they did and I don't know what they were legally advised to do or whatnot, so I don't really want to comment on that, on what's normal, or if I would have advised to do that myself. So, what's done is done, I should say, as it relates to
Best political answer of the night. Bro, all right, I'm done. Yeah, I figured. So, basically what we want to see as a board, we want to see 1 through 4, and we want to see a second document of 1 through 3. That's what we want, correct? By next meeting.
That will be done.
Agreed, board? Do we need a motion for that?
No, we understand.
Okay, we're good on that.
Get ready for another big packet.
That's okay.
Oh, it won't take very many pages.
No, it'll be great. So, board members, look for two items, 1 through 4, 1 through 3. We'll review those next meeting, we'll be good to go.
Do you have any other regular agenda items?
Yeah, yeah, there's more.
Development plan type.
We do have a development plan. We have a confined feeding operation.
The CAFO. Those haven't been too big a deal lately.
Haven't been chickens, okay.
Okay, are we okay to move on from the proposed?
Sure.
Okay, let's go into our next item on the agenda, which is the Wells County Vision 2035 Comprehensive Plan progress.
All right. Real quick. So we're currently delaying the completion of the master plan project, primarily because the city of Bluffton, who plays a major part in making sure that this is accurate for what we want to do, has went through some major mayoral and council changes here recently, and they are playing an active role in making some suggestions back to our contractor in regards to what the final draft would be on their side. So gearing up to that will happen here in the next couple months, and then we'll be back towards that process.
Sweet.
That's it on that part.
Next.
Revitalization and trails updates. So State Road 124 trail fundraising, downtown pathways project are both moving forward. There's the Wells County Trails Challenge and Wabash River Kayak Challenge going right now that will support the 124 trail fundraising. Both of the projects have dollar-for-dollar matching grants through the foundation. And Bluffton Now is doing an Eat, Savor, and Explore Downtown Bluffton event on August 23rd, which you'll get to see some unfinished, currently in renovation and completed spaces in downtown Bluffton that you may not see any other way.
That'd be cool. That like in the afternoon?
It's from noon to 2.
Okay.
On Saturday. It's going to be a busy Saturday. The morning has Touch a Truck, and then there will be a major car show on Market Street that day.
Okay.
In Fast Cities. So it's going to be a hopping, exciting day in downtown.
Housing study.
So as at today's meeting, we approved development plans for another multifamily affordable housing option in the community. The Ossian subdivision is, I think they're getting ready to pour concrete curbs and getting ready to, you'll see a road finished out there northwest of town that we approved earlier, so that might be moving closer to secondary plat and selling of lots there. And we've had some other conversations with potential developers in regards to other sites around the country. Things are moving into housing.
Building out behind the farms.
We have a meeting next month?
Yes, we do.
Is that September 4th?
I believe that is accurate.
Yes, Suze?
Yes.
Okay, mark your calendars, folks, for September 4th.
How did they settle on, did they end up getting 2 entrances off of that one? That's what I was trying to figure out. I couldn't remember if that was settled or not.
Anything else?
I have nothing else.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I need a motion to adjourn. John, you got it? Got a second? All right, Bill, we got the second. All in favor, right hand?